It's time to get nerdy, y'all.
A little bit of gaming history for you.
Something relevant in gaming and discuss our opinions on it.
Should we kick it out of here, or should we kick-start it?
This is the part where you, the listeners, try to stump the hosts.
I'm not a lawyer. I just play one on a podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, lads and lasses of all ages, welcome to the show. It is Monday, July 14th, and it is time to get nerdy. Welcome to episode 349 of Two Nerds in a Pod, the nerdiest gaming podcast in the multiverse. I am one of your hosts, Mac, and I am joined by my co-host. He's a friend, a pal, a confidant, and we all know him as Mr. Nice Guy 425. And for anybody who's new to the show, number one, welcome, and number two, we are going to take you through news, history, trivia, lawsuits, and everything in between as it relates to our favorite art form, video games. So sit back, relax for the next hour. But first, Mr. Nice Guy, it has been a week since we've been together. How the heck are you?
Man, I'm doing really well, Mac. I live in Wisconsin, that is no secret, and this is the best time of year to be in Wisconsin. A lot of people take a summer vacation. Sometimes we do. I'm all about that winter vacation, and I'm all about being here when it is warm. Golf, pool time, barbecue, all the beautiful things about summer. I'm just living the dream, man. That's it. How about you?
Oh, I'm doing pretty well. It's no secret I'm out on the West Coast, and this is where people from our former home in the Southwest Desert like to come around in the summertime and escape those triple-digit heats inland and come out to the coast. And so I've been seeing a lot of Utah license plates lately and getting cut off by them on the road, but I'm not salty, so it's all good. But yeah, last week was a nice, relaxing thing. Didn't really do anything big, just, same old, but I am enjoying the weather similarly over here.
You know what's interesting, Mac? Do you still feel like you're the exact same down-to-earth guy that you were when we were in college playing video games in a sandwich shop?
I'd like to think that I'm just the same down-to-earth guy that I used to be. And Mr. Nice Guy, I appreciate you characterizing me that way. I still think you're pretty down-to-earth, my dude.
I'm concerned that someday I won't be playing the same games that I'm playing. Maybe I'll be playing more bougie games. Maybe games with blood and guts and gore and profanity won't be in the cards. It'll just be puzzle games like One Thomas Was Alone. Very bougie game. But we'll talk about that later.
I'm excited to talk about it later.
But Mac, I say we do what we do best, bro. And we hop right up in that gaming news, my friend. What do you think about that?
Absolutely. Mr. Nice Guy, I am, as always, out of the loop. What's going on in video gaming?
Oh, there is so much. And thank you for tuning in to episode 349 of Two Nerds in a Pod, nerdiest video game podcast in the galaxy. Mac, we talked last week about how Xbox might be getting out of the hardware space. And I said, I think that they're going to stay in the hardware space, but maybe do it in the form of peripherals and controllers. Well, to back that up, we have this article from GameSpot.com written by Steve Petit. 8BitDo has partnered with Xbox on a new edition of its Ultimate Mobile Bluetooth controller. Unlike the original model that 8BitDo debuted last holiday season, the Xbox licensed model supports iPhone. We'll be testing the revised model in the coming weeks, and we'll update this article, blah, blah, blah. Like all 8BitDo controllers, the Ultimate Mobile Bluetooth carries a budget-friendly price, $50. But even from a manufacturer known for offering customizable Pro-style controllers with high-end performance and low prices, the $50 price is a bit surprising. In its other collaborations with Xbox, generally cost is a bit more than comparable versions without the Xbox license, but the cost here matches that of the Android version, and this one supports iPhone and Android, blah, blah, blah. Mac, was I right in my assumption that Xbox is going to make a lot of accessories, continue to make branded stuff, or is this just a coincidence? They're just tapping into a market where there's opportunity?
Well, I mean, I would shy away from definitively saying you're right or you're wrong. I mean, we still don't know. The jury's still out and there's still time. We haven't wrote the history yet. But is Xbox making it or is 8BitDo making it?
Oh, it's a collaboration. Much like how they're collaborating, or they already collaborated with Meta to make that headset.
Yeah.
And they're collaborating to make a handheld gaming PC with Asus, the ROG Ally Xbox version. It seems like they're doing a similar thing here with 8BitDo specifically for the iPhone.
I mean, maybe I don't understand who's the one putting a thing together, but these collaborations sound more like somebody else is making the hardware and Xbox is maybe giving some oversight and slapping the logo on it, or helping a little bit with the software and making sure that its compatibility works. I think, but I don't know. Maybe this is truly a thing where they're putting it together in both sides. But my shot from the hip, read of that is that it's actually less of them being involved on the hardware rather than more involved.
I don't think that it means they're more involved, but I think it means that they remain involved. That's all I'm saying, is that they remain involved. And so when people say they're exiting the hardware space, maybe they should be a little bit more specific and say they are exiting the console space. Potentially, right? We don't know that for sure. Because like I said, I don't see Xbox not making controllers. I don't see them not making headsets. Microsoft is a software company, but certainly also a hardware company. And so I think that their ability to stay in both spaces, continuing to make games in their studios, continuing to make peripherals and accessories, while maybe exiting the console space, is a good game plan, with Game Pass being what it is. Well, Mac, on that note, let's move on to another story that relates once again to an article that we discussed a week or two ago about, is Xbox Game Pass going to cannibalize the competition, and is it unsustainable? This is on IGN.com, written by Robert Anderson, and here is what Robert writes. There's a major shortage of Clair Obscur Expedition 33 physical copies on the PlayStation 5 right now, with every major online retailer in the US, including Amazon and Best Buy, completely sold out of the critically acclaimed RPG. Already touted as a potential Game of the Year contender, Clair Obscur Expedition 33 is a brilliant game and absolutely worth your attention. IGN gave it a 9 out of 10. But if you're hoping to get the physical edition for PS5, you might be out of luck at the moment. Most retailers are wiped out, and Amazon's rare restocks vanish almost instantly every time new copies appear. That kind of scarcity is unusual for a standard edition release in 2025, especially for such a popular title. The Xbox version is still available at Best Buy for $49.99, blah, blah, blah. Mac, here's what makes this interesting to me. This is a game that is available on Game Pass, and so the implication that Game Pass would ruin other platforms, to me, is kind of countered by this, because we see that, if anything, it's giving enough attention to the game that it is now sold out on PlayStation, a completely different platform. And I'm giving you my opinion first. Once again, am I wrong here? Am I completely misreading this situation? What do you think?
Lom, I'll take the opposite position. You are totally wrong. So wrong, how wrong it is to be. Nah, dude, I don't know. So Clair Obscur Expedition 33. I've heard that it's a fantastic game. I know a little bit about the premise. And of course, like they said in the article, I have heard people express that they think it should be Game of the Year for this year. Is it a Game Pass game?
It is, yeah. It's available on Xbox Game Pass, and it's funny because I almost bought it on the Steam sale, and then I was looking, and I was like, oh, this is on Game Pass. I'll just get Game Pass for a month when I'm ready to play it, and do it that way.
Gotcha. I know that Game Pass is a service where some games get put on, pulled off over time. Do we have any good experience over the years that we've had Game Pass as to how frequently a big game, a new game like that, is on Game Pass and then leaves Game Pass?
I mean, with a new game like this, I would imagine it's going to be there for several months, a year, longer. I don't think that their goal is to get people to play it and then get mad that it got taken off. Their goal is to leave it on there long enough for people to enjoy it. And candidly, it hasn't been out long enough that I think they'd remove it.
Or, counterpoint, put it on there for just a little bit and then pull it off. And now everybody's going for the physical editions on PlayStation.
But that's the thing, is it's not even like they're going for the physical versions on Xbox. So if someone wants to make the argument that Game Pass hurts Xbox sales, okay, fine. Xbox software sales, fine. But to make the argument that it hurts sales elsewhere is clearly not true, because this game can't stay on the shelves for the PlayStation 5.
Well, I will say the performance of a Game of the Year candidate in the physical sales on a different platform where people, can't get it for Game Pass, in Game Pass methods.
Sure.
I don't think that data point is that clean as evidence. I'd like to see a little bit more of how sales are doing on other platforms for games on, say,
That's
Game
fair.
Pass. Now, it could also be the case that on Game Pass, you're getting, say, some heightened exposure through the ease of entry. Streamers are playing it, you're picking it up. I know that some companies, specifically Nintendo, do claim that live streams actively damage the value of their game when they come out early. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think we've got good enough data that really narrows it down. I think it's interesting, but I think we would be probably selling out of physical editions of Expedition 33, just due to its popularity alone.
Yeah, that could be, but once again, I think the argument that people made in the past is that Game Pass is unsustainable because it will cannibalize its competition. And I just don't know that that's the case. Now, you're right. This is, number one, a small sample size. We're talking about one game. Additionally, we're talking about a game that has received critical acclaim, right? So, and also candidly, I'm discounting the fact that there are people who own PlayStations and simply do not own an Xbox or do not want to subscribe to Xbox Game Pass. Maybe they just want a physical copy and that's how they want to play. So it could be that group too, right? But the idea that it's completely sold out everywhere and that every time it goes back into stock on Amazon, it's gone, to me, that's a little bit suspect.
Oh?
I think, yeah, it's not hardware. It's a game. So yeah, to me, that's suspect.
Do you mean somebody is tinkering with things or artificial scarcity? I mean, we're not talking Nintendo here.
No, I don't think it's artificial scarcity. I just think that maybe there's more of a correlation to Xbox actually increasing the popularity of this game, Game Pass increasing the popularity of this game, than we're willing to admit. We don't know because it's one data point, like you said, but I think that it's a possibility. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, sure. I think anything's possible, and this could certainly be the case. Only time will tell.
Only time will tell.
You know me. I'm a bit of a reactionary. I'm a little bit of a hope for the best, expect the worst kind of guy. So I hope that the Game Pass model doesn't, like you were bringing up for discussion a couple of weeks ago, doesn't cannibalize the game market in such a way that makes it difficult for other models to work. And to that point, I think, maybe this is cause for optimism if you were worried about it.
Yeah. It's a game I got to play, Mac. Everyone I know who has played it is constantly saying, you got to buy this, you got to buy this, you got to buy this. And it's a matter of time. I just don't have the time to play it. Next story before we move out of the news for the week is on GameSpot.com, and this is written by Jason Finelli. When Tony Hawk Pro Skater 3+4's roster was first revealed, one notable name was conspicuous in its absence. Bam Margera, one of the most famous skaters of the era who appeared in multiple Tony Hawk games, was the only one from Tony Hawk Pro Skater 3's original roster missing from the remake. Margera was eventually added to the game in the 11th hour, and in a new interview with VGC, Margera says a chance encounter with Tony Hawk in Los Angeles is the reason he's back in the game. Margera says that he was in LA at a time where he hadn't spoken with Hawk in about a year, when Margera wasn't doing too good. After a phone call and an invitation to Hawk's Nest skate park, Margera says Hawk was impressed with his progress. Quote, I grabbed my skateboard, put on some knee pads, and we wound up ollieing over each other on the big channel, Margera said in the interview. He's like, what's going on? You're back. Margera explains that he recently married a stretch coach who has helped him improve his physical health, which has allowed him to return to skateboarding full-time. He was pretty blown away by that, Margera said, and I think that, really provoked him to make a call to Activision, knowing that there was already a deadline, but to see what kind of strings he could pull to get me back in it, just from that special little visit. So, Mac, I don't know too much about why Bam Margera wasn't going to be in the game. It sounds like, candidly, maybe it's his physical condition. I have a couple questions for you here. One, what's your experience with Tony Hawk Pro Skater? Let's start there. Is this a game that you've played? Do you have memories of the characters? Where are you at?
I've seen it played. I am aware of a meme or two surrounding it. I think the thing I know the most about it is the soundtrack, frankly.
Here I am, doing everything I can. I love that song. Goldfinger. We can only do 10 seconds of the song. So here's my thing. I'll tell you why I think this is silly.
Yeah.
The idea that someone would need to be in good shape in real life and like doing well physically and mentally in order to be in the game, to me is wild. And that's the implication of this article. Is he ran into Tony Hawk and Tony Hawk was like, wow, you can actually still ollie? Let me make a call to Activision because I didn't think we could put you into this video game unless you could really still skate in real life. If that's what I'm understanding and that's the case, I think that that's ridiculous.
Yeah, is it because they needed to get him for motion cap? Or
Well, no, because it happened at the 11th hour. It was like, oh, the game's coming out soon. Make a call to Activision and get him in there.
It does sound like an odd story.
Well, and this raises a question for you, and this will be my last question, which is when remakes are made like this that are based on real people, how important is it to you that the likeness of the real people are in the game? And I could give you my opinion, but I want to hear yours, dude.
So I'm just going to say, for me, not that much. Like, at the risk of, throwing something out there that was a bit... Okay, I recently watched something that involved a character an actor's character who had died. In this production, many years later, they used CG to bring him back so that he could make a performance of the same character. And I was like, you know what? I would have been cool if you had just put in somebody who looked reasonably close. Like, for example, in when Luke Skywalker makes an appearance, spoilers, in The Mandalorian. Yeah. The dude who they CG'd over to be Luke Skywalker is almost a dead ringer of young Mark Hamill. Like, it's so close, I would not have cared one bit. And I also saw the same thing for this. Hey, a little bit of makeup would have been fine. All I'm saying is that even if it were different, reasonably different, I'm still fine. I don't think we necessarily always need to have the exact same person brought back for new stuff come heck or high water.
Were you mad that they used CG to put these people back in the movie?
No, not mad, but it's like you guys spent a lot of time and energy to try and put them back in here when it kind of looks uncanny valley at the end. Not that it's not a feat. It's just like, hey, maybe you don't have to hold so tightly onto some of these things that aren't necessary. And I feel kind of the same way about the games as well, is what I'm saying.
So what Mac is saying is he's not okay with AI using someone's likeness or stealing someone's voice, but he's completely okay with CG putting someone into a movie, and that has been our news for the week.
I'm going to let that one slide for reasons that are going to become clear later. So, now that we've gone through what's going on right now, let's go ahead and look into the past with some video game history. Mr. Nice Guy, this last week in Years Before has been a big one, a great one, and it involves at least two games that I have played only to the slightest amount, but I'm pretty sure you know better than I do.
Okay.
I'll start with the most recent, released in 2014 for the PC, a little game called Rocket League. Mr. Nice Guy, have you played Rocket League?
Of course I've played Rocket League, man. I feel like they should put it back on Steam. I think it's wild. I think it's ridiculous. And I'm sounding like the Stephen A. of video games right now, Stephen A. Smith. Mac, you'll have to Google him later.
I will.
I think it's wild and ridiculous and unacceptable that it's not on Steam.
So, Mr. Nice Guy, as somebody who enjoys Rocket League, wants to see it in more places, what is its appeal? Because as I know it, it's the game with cars where essentially you're like a car playing soccer, and it has a sort of RC car kind of feel to it.
Yeah, you know what? I think originally it was free to play, I believe. High fly in action. Mm-hmm. Everyone loves a little high fly in action. And it's just an absurd mix of two things that are completely unrelated. Race cars playing soccer and the ability for them to go vertical, or the level of verticality where you can go up walls and reach the ceiling and then do flips. But also it requires some strategy. It's not just randomness. I think is what really appeals to people.
Now, as far as the game itself goes, it's not an overly complicated game. Interface, your options, your movement, not especially complicated, right?
Sure, lots of customization. You personalize your vehicle, and I would say
But that's just cosmetics, right?
yeah, but I would also say easy to play but hard to master. You know, it's cliche, but it's true.
No, and I agree with you 100%, and that's kind of what everybody says about Rocket League, is that it's a shockingly simple game, but yet has so much so much play. I don't know how the esports scene is still for Rocket League, not read into it, but I know that back in 2015, 2016, Rocket League was one of the big contenders in esports. And they had lots of teams, lots of people playing it. So while it was not exactly my thing, we do pay tribute to it in gaming history today. Mr. Nice, anything you want to say about Rocket League in addition?
No, I mean, it was a super fun game, and once again, I believe it was free to play on many platforms, and then they started charging for it, as they should, but I just wish it was back on Steam. Sometimes I don't understand why Steam has these games removed or why they get removed, but it should be there.
I will say that Galvatron does weigh in that he believes Rocket League should be banned because it is a reckless driving simulator.
Nonsense.
Nonsense, indeed.
Isn't Mario Kart a reckless driving simulator?
Oh, absolutely.
You're shooting people. Galvatron, come on.
2013, another game released for the PC, Dota 2. Dota itself had its origins in Warcraft 3 mods, obviously, which led to the Defense of the Ancients, which was a map mod to Warcraft 3 that sort of spawned more or less the genre. Now, that wasn't where the Dota style, there's a specific name for it that's escaping me, but the genre of it...
MOBA, right?
Yeah, MOBA. Thank you, Mr. Nice Guy. Yes. The MOBA genre started back in the PlayStation 1 era with a game called, what was it? It was LA Future Cop, I believe was the name of it. That was the one of the first MOBAs. You could potentially go a little bit farther back to a game on the Sega Genesis that had similar things. But Dota 2 is really, really when the genre kicked off. Now, I have one memory of Dota 2, Mr. Nice Guy, but just in case you had more.
I definitely don't have more. It's the only memory I have of it. You know what? I won't say that. I'll just say that there's some people who are way too into it, and we'll leave it at that.
My one memory, Mr. Nice Guy, is when you and I went to E3 together in LA, back when, it was industry only, and back when it was still happening, that Dota 2, one of the muckety mucks there, gave us, redemption codes for Dota 2.
Are you sure?
I mean, I was sure until you asked that question, and I know you were there with me, so if you don't remember it, maybe I'm making stuff up.
I don't, because Dota is free.
Yeah. It had to have been cosmetic stuff.
It could have been. Yeah, that could have been it.
What I remember was being offered these, redemption codes that must have been for cosmetics, and you and me both being like, yeah, I'm sorry, we don't play Dota 2. And then the person just being like, oh, okay, well, I'll save these for somebody else. Which we were there on press credentials, so I think there was a greater inclination on their behalf to try and get us in. So anyway, that's my only Dota 2 memory.
Dude, I was thinking about this the other day, that trip,
Uh-huh.
and I remember we had some type of lanyard on. I can't remember what it was, and we went into one of the booths to go demo a game, and the lady was like, you guys can't be walking around with those lanyards, and gave us lanyards for the company that she was representing instead, which is just hilarious to me. The amount of competition that used to take place at E3 was just awesome in the form of kindness and in the form of swag. It was just kind of cool. I wish it was back.
Man, I mean, at the risk of going too far down this rabbit trail, do you remember those awesome dudes from Ubisoft giving us those shirts?
That was a dream. Splinter Cell, my favorite game ever. I'll never forget that I got to see the demo of Splinter Cell Blacklist.
Yeah.
I still have that t-shirt.
Yeah, same. Well, anyway, let's step a little bit farther back into the past. 1990 released for the NES a little game called Final Fantasy. I got my hands on this NES cartridge by, a little bit later on, going into a secondhand store and trading a bunch of CDs that I didn't like for an NES. For an NES cartridge. It was a great time. Played this game to no end, even trying to beat it with 4 white mages, which was basically hard mode in the game, because those classes just don't pack a punch. And good times. To those who know, the Peninsula of Power, you gotta grind there so that you can power level in the game. But Final Fantasy, great stuff. And of course, the studio called it Final Fantasy, as you know, because they expected that would be the final game that they would produce from their studio, that they didn't have the funds to keep making more. So this was the last hurrah, this was the final bit, and then of course it sold really, really well and propelled them forward. And now we're at Final Fantasy, 26 or whatever we're on now.
Yeah, they keep making them.
And with good reason. A lot of them are very good games.
Yeah, beloved.
But all started this middle of July back in 1990. And those were the games I wanted to highlight this time around for video game history, Mr. Nice Guy.
Love it. Well, hey, let's keep things moving. We are not going to review a game this week, although we are working on some fun stuff. So Indie Game of the Week will return in a bit. But this week, we're going to talk about Topic of the Week. And this article comes from IGN.com, written by Vicky Blake, and it goes into something we discussed last week. You're starting to see some recurring themes here, which is Subnautica. And Mac, do you remember what we talked about involving Subnautica last week?
Yeah, if you don't mind me giving a quick summary.
Do it.
So what we heard that of the studio that was putting together Subnautica, that several of their higher-ups, I believe 3 people, were let go from the company. And this happened to be kind of a big deal because the game's so close to release. At least from what we were hearing at the time, it was like, oh yeah, it's going to be released imminently. And now we're letting these 3 higher-ups go. And we talked about whether or not that would have much of an impact on the direction of the game itself. And I know that I came down on a sort of like, I don't know, they probably weren't so involved in the nitty-gritty of the game, and it's so far along, probably not going to have much of an impact. I suspect, Mr. Nice Guy, that I'm going to be proven wrong.
Maybe. Well, we'll see. Let's read this and see what Vicky writes. Amid an increasingly bitter row over a $250 million bonus, Krafton has now chosen to confirm a leaked Subnautica 2 development document purportedly criticizing the highly anticipated sequel is in fact real. But first, some context. Krafton acquired Unknown Worlds in October 2021, and at the time said Subnautica Studio would continue to operate as an independent outfit. Last week, however, former Striking Distance CEO Steve Papatus joined Subnautica 2 developer Unknown Worlds as CEO. The shock announcement confirmed that the previous leadership team, Ted Gill, Charlie Cleveland, and Max McGuire, were replaced effective immediately, as Max said. So here's where we're at now. Then last week, reports came to light that Subnautica 2 had been delayed to 2026, just months before Krafton was due to pay a $250 million bonus to the development team. Bloomberg said the delay was against the wishes of the studio's former leadership, and that the $250 million bonus would have kicked in if Unknown Worlds hit certain revenue targets by the end of 2025. Mac, are you following where this is going?
I think so.
So, to summarize, for those keeping score at home, $250 million bonus would have been given to the development team, but only if they hit certain revenue targets by the end of 2025, and the game has been delayed to 2026.
The people at the head of the team have been fired. New person announces a delay until past 2026.
Yeah. So, I mean, and they summarize it here. Now, without Subnautica 2 coming out this year, that bonus wouldn't be paid out. In a statement to IGN, Krafton insisted the decision had nothing to do with any contractual or financial considerations. Instead, Krafton claimed the delay was about responding to feedback from playtests. There's another quote, Mac, and I should have found this source, where one of those people who was let go said that the game is ready to go. So, let's go back to what we talked about last week for the sake of time.
Yeah.
Do we think that this is backlash for those 3 people leaving? Do we think that this is almost like a Bobby Kotick taking over and saying, we're not going to pay out this bonus? What do you think is happening here?
Based on what we know, it doesn't look good. Even if it is sheer coincidence, it doesn't look good. What we were hearing before we found out about this big bonus that's now no longer going to be paid because of the delay in the game, it is clear, and nobody contends, that there was a $250 million bonus for sales figures hit within the year of 2026, right?
Within the year of 2025, yes.
Or sorry, yeah, within the year of 2025. So nobody's denying that bit. I'm sad for the team that that provision was not written to be within X units of time post-launch, because that would
100%.
Protect them even in delays. And I can see this situation where the people who are working on it are, we hate crunch, but crunching real hard because they know there's a $250 million split however many ways bonus for getting this out there, getting it good, and getting it in the hands of consumers. I mean, any way you slice it, this does not look good. If Krafton wanted to not look like they were trying to abuse these workers by pushing it out and preventing them from getting potentially the possibility of that bonus, they would rework it to be like, hey, if you can do it within 6 months, these numbers within 6 months of the release will still give you that. At which point I would be like, hey, maybe Krafton isn't so bad. Maybe it was nothing. But I haven't heard of that yet, nor would we, because people try to keep that stuff under the hat, don't they?
Yeah, and here's what I'll say. That's a very, very silly provision.
Oh, agreed. I'd like to have some words with the person who wrote that.
Well, and I think maybe my stance is a little bit different as to why. I agree with what you said, but I also think it would force people to put out a bad game, right? I've built in a way that I don't want to attach my name to something that is of poor quality, and I think that many people are built that way. But at the same time, putting out a game that is a 7 or a 6.5 out of 10 would probably happen if you know that there's $250 million being split however many ways, as opposed to delaying it and putting out a 9 out of 10. And they have the benefit of this being a sequel that is pretty much beloved.
Oh, yeah.
So there's going to be just a certain number of repeat customers buying it automatically, and they probably felt like they could hit those revenue goals by getting it out. Now, I also think that the game is probably going to be good. I think that there was a quote where they said, hey, this is ready to go. There's no reason to delay it. But, Mac, one thing I've learned in my time on Earth is that there's 2 sides to every single story.
For sure.
And so for someone to get fired and then to say, hey, the game is ready to go, knowing that there's a $250 million bonus on the line, makes everyone who would then delay the game look like they're doing it to avoid paying out money. And so that whole statement could have been made out of bitterness. This is very complicated, but very, very interesting.
It certainly could be complicated. Now, counterpoint is that one would assume that the numbers that they would have had to have met, maybe they couldn't have been met with a 7 out of 10 game.
True.
Maybe they had to have delivered a 9 out of 10. And nobody knows whether something is a 7 out of 10 or a 9 out of 10 really until launch. So I don't know. It's not a good look. I think we can all agree it's not a good look for sure. Now, I will say that there has been word that there may be a lawsuit filed.
There is.
But I haven't been able to read the complaint yet. So once that hits the public docket, though, I'm 100% all on board on talking about this in legalese, and I'll try and keep y'all updated. But I agree with you, Mr. Nice Guy. It could be the case that they're trying. I mean, maybe this is the case that Krafton not is worried about that $250 million that they might have to pay out, but maybe Krafton is worried about the quality of game that was going to be released and damage to the IP. Who knows?
For anyone who maybe thought we were crazy, or I'll speak for myself, thought I was crazy when I said, is it possible that the departure of these people could ruin the next game or could sour the next game, not just from the fan base, but for other reasons? This is the type of stuff that we're talking about. And it's not just in gaming, it's in every industry where leadership leaves and things change. And it's unfortunate, But ultimately, this software, this IP, is a product of the company. Much like Bungie lost Halo, it's frustrating to see those who worked on it, put the blood, sweat, and tears and the crunch, not get their due, but it happens. And so I hope the game succeeds. Mac, real quick to put a pin in this. What's the name of that? It's like a choose-your-adventure game. Oh, man. I'm going to find the name of it later. Bottom line, there have been games in the past where the original devs are not getting paid, and they've gone so far as to say, don't even buy this old game. Pirate it. We want you to enjoy it, but we're not going to encourage you to go purchase it legally. I know you've played this game, and I'm trying to remember what it's called. Oh, I own it too. I'll find it, and I'll shout it out later in the episode. Mac, anything else you want to say on this topic?
It seems a pity. It's not a good look, and here's to hoping that that when the game does come out, that hopefully Krafton does something like what I suggested, and they reset that expectation, and they say, hey, if you can do these kind of numbers within this unit time, you'll get that bonus, because it seems like a lot of these people put in a lot of work under the idea that there was a bonus at the end. And regardless of whether or not it was going to be a good game at the end, I think they spent way too much time laboring under that. So I hope Krafton does right by them and reinstates that somehow in a more equitable fashion. Krafton, I'm watching you.
Disco Elysium is the game that I was thinking of, and that has been our topic of the week.
All right, well, now let's turn to a crowdfunding project that's trying to get off the ground. We call this Kick or Kickstart. Just a quick one for us today, Mr. Nice Guy. This is a little something called Gods TV. So, essentially, the fiction here behind it is that there are a bunch of eldritch beings, gods, if you will, crazy mercurial beings with lots of power that basically have the television style, almost Smash TV arena sensibilities going on.
Love it.
And the main characters are participating in a giant battle arena. Now, this takes the style of an overhead isometric beat 'em up with roguelike elements. It does give me sort of Bastion flavor on top of Jet Set Radio vibes, I think. Kind of captures the general stuff that we've got there. Melbot Studios out of Barcelona, Spain, are the people who are bringing us Gods TV. Now, they're asking 22 euros, which is 26 US dollars, for a digital copy of the game. They had a $40,000 goal, and they hit that in 24 hours, and currently sitting at about 60,000 with 23 days left to go. So they spend a lot of the time in their campaign here giving us introductions to the various set pieces, the characters in the game, what the vibe is going on. But there is one specific thing that they dedicate some time to, but not quite enough to, and that is the co-op of this game. You can play it solo, but co-op is also an option. I would love to have known if this was going to be a co-op that was sort of, I'm hosting the game and you're co-oping in, or if this was a couch co-op. I get the impression, just because of the way that the world is, that this would be an online co-op option.
Agree.
But I also hope that a co-op option, couch co-op option, would be available as well. So, but when I don't see a specific mention of which way it's going, I usually tend to assume that it's going to be an online co-op, not an online and couch co-op. Only time will tell, though. Only time will tell. So that's what we've got, some of the big details there. I encourage you to go have a look. I posted the link in the chat, so those of you who are here with us live can take a look. But Mr. Nice Guy, what you thinking?
So one thing I'm starting to look at more closely is when the account was created and how much they've done in terms of activity on Kickstarter. For context, these folks made their account in 2019. They have had, this is their second Kickstarter project. The last one was indeed funded, and they have funded 10 other projects. So to me, 10 projects in 5 years to me is a lot. That's 2 projects a year. that you're putting money towards, your own money. So I think that these people know what it takes to make a good Kickstarter, but do they know what it takes to make a good video game? That I don't know. I do know that the Hades formula, very, very popular. This is much more cartoony, but that's a formula that's really taking off and is just on the cusp of oversaturation. I think that these folks have put something together that's unique enough that it will be successful, and it looks like they put together a clean project that's going to be good. I like the look.
Yeah. It looks like they've got themselves a team of 5 that are working together on this. They've got various people they described near the end of it. But Mr. Nice Guy, you're absolutely right. It's hard to know if they can bring something like this together. I absolutely spaced it. The delivery date that they expect on the game is October of 2026. So about 14 months out. Not too terrible. Also, could be a little bit farther along. The real proof is going to be in whether they can bring it all together in a playable demo, perhaps, which this game does absolutely have. They did put it pretty close to front and center, as it's just a little bit below the story. So, if this at all sounds interesting to you, a game kind of like Hades, but more cartoony, then maybe you can give it a shot yourself. Gods TV should still be up on Kickstarter for the next, few weeks, so you can get a chance to take a look. But before we depart, Mr. Nice Guy, kick or kickstart? What are you thinking?
I'm going to give these folks a chance. Hades is a game that I played a good amount of. I don't think that it deserves the hype, but I think that the formula is solid. It almost takes like Bastion, like you said, but almost kind of can adds it with like Diablo, and gives like a really wholesome, like deep experience. And I think that these folks are doing the same. So I will say kickstart, despite it being out of ways.
Yeah. And for my part, this genre is not exactly my thing, but I do appreciate what they're doing. I would say kickstart. I think it's worth a go. I'm not the biggest fan of that price. $25 is a little bit much for a risk. $25, $26. But then again, everything's more expensive now. So maybe I need to get my head out of the past. That being said, kickstart for me.
So just kind of like joking here. Everything's more expensive now, so are we just cool with $80 video games, $70 video games? Where are we at with that, Mac?
I
feel like you're enabling these people to charge more.
You're right. So that's a kick because you didn't come here with a $15 US dollar. Get this down to 10 euros. That's where I want to see it.
I think Mac is kidding. I say kickstart. But anyway, let's move on. Next segment is one we like to call Nerd Flex.
Woo-hoo.
A segment where you, the viewers, try to stump the host. Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. If you're here live, you know how this works. You have a job to do. Get those multiple choice, gaming-related questions in the chat, and Mac and I will use nothing but our noggins to try to answer them and see if we come out on top. And Mac, I'll need your help today. If there's anything in the chat, please let me know.
Can do. And also, for those of you here, don't forget there are still some sound tests ready to be claimed. We put one out in 347.
Well, Mac, here is the first question. Think arcade. It's a Sega question. In House of the Dead 2, what is written on the side of Strength's chainsaw? This is a tough one, dude. It's been so long since I've played this game. In House of the Dead 2, what is written on the side of Strength's chainsaw?
Pain.
Is it really, or are you just guessing?
Totally guessing. But I'd guess something like, on the side of a chainsaw, I think it's going to be a one-word thingy.
I was going to say, like, pull me, like pull the string, right? Or like maybe give me liberty or give me death. Maybe he's super political. I don't know. I have no idea.
He's got a really big chainsaw.
Maybe he has a big chainsaw. Don't bring a chainsaw to a gunfight. That could be on there.
Ooh, I like that one.
It's probably one word. So you said pain. I'm going to go with blood.
Okay.
Let's see what it is. Dude. It actually was neither of those things, but it was almost a combination of the two words. It was blame,
Blame.
which
Pain
is crazy.
and blood. That's
Yeah.
fantastic. You know, Mr. Nice Guy, as a unit, we can combine the letters, and that gets us there.
Yeah, I feel like maybe half point. I don't know. Let us know in the chat what you think.
Indeed. Now, we do have one in the chat. Galvatron asks, who is the second to last boss in the X-Men arcade game?
Ooh, this is a great question.
I do not remember the X-Men arcade game basically at all. So, the options presented are Mr. Sinister, Mystique, Juggernaut, Magneto, Apocalypse, Galactus, Pyro, Sabretooth, The Blob, Dark Phoenix, and Silver Samurai.
So ridiculous that you would put that many options, but you always do that. We appreciate your question. I feel like it could be Magneto, but I'm trying to think who would be a boss after Magneto is the question.
Exactly. I think Juggernaut Magneto is a good number 2, number 1 thing, because but Apocalypse, I feel like there was a second X-Men arcade game that had Apocalypse in it, so I don't think the original had it. But of course, Mr. Sinister, he was a big hitter.
Pretty sure it's not Mystique.
Yeah, pretty sure. I'm also pretty sure it's not Galactus, Pyro, the Blob, or Dark Phoenix. I think that would have been another later on. Dark Phoenix and Apocalypse kind of are hand in hand. They occupy the same floor in the apartment of my mind that is dedicated to X-Men, lore.
Nice. I like it. Well, why don't we go? I think it's Juggernaut. I almost feel like he's earlier in the game, but it's been so long since I've played. So why don't we go Juggernaut?
Yep, Juggernaut, final answer. Galvatron, let us know. So in our minds, we're thinking Juggernaut and Magneto is final boss. This is a very good one. So the second to last boss was Mystique disguised as Magneto. So last boss Magneto, we were right about that. Second to last boss, false Magneto, in that it was Mystique disguised as Magneto. Well played.
Yeah.
Well played.
Well, one of those the princess is in another castle moments.
Yeah. It hurts when it happens to us.
Well, hey, last question, Mac, and this is one of those special rounds.
Woo!
This is a tough one. This is from the test bank of questions. Name 3 defunct video game publishers. Name 3 defunct video game publishers. To me, this is a hard question.
Okay. Let's see. Lucasfilm Games.
Is it Lucasfilm Games or is it LucasArts?
LucasArts. Yeah.
Okay.
LucasArts, but specifically the games division. They're defunct. Let's see. Who else is no longer around? I guess technically Square, as its own entity, is no longer around because it's Square Enix.
Is Rare still around?
Rare?
Like, do they still make stuff on Xbox? I know Xbox bought them.
Yeah, Rare is still around, I think.
Okay.
There is a company called Infogrames that I know is defunct. They made point-and-click adventure games back in the day.
Yeah.
Also, Sierra. I'm pretty sure Sierra is defunct.
I feel like this is going back to a legalese we talked about, right?
Probably. We talk about a lot of things, Mr. Nice Guy.
Yeah, we sure do.
Let's see. We've got some help in the chat, but I don't want to look because I want us to get this on our
Stop
own.
cheating in the chat.
Well, they're trying to prove their own nerdiness there.
We appreciate that. Let's think of what games are from publishers that no longer exist. That would help us start.
What about your favorite NES game of all time?
Super Mario 3?
No, Little Samson.
Oh, I do love that game. That was made by, oh my gosh. They're still around.
Yeah. Oh, okay. They are still around.
Do you remember who? I can't remember who the publisher was, though.
No, I can't. I was hoping you would.
Yeah, they're still around. Well, I think we've come up with a couple. Let's see what the answer.
Okay, what's it got there?
Okay, so some of the ones you said are on here, actually.
Okay.
Sierra, Micropose, Midway Games, THQ, Telltale, Hudson Soft,
Oh, Telltale, of course.
and LucasArts.
Man,
So-
Hudson Soft. Oh, that's like what's that dude who's just running around?
Is that Bonk's Adventure?
No, not Bonk's Adventure. It's like it's in a similar vein. He's got like axes. Is it like Adventure Island or something?
Yeah. Is that Hudson? I don't know. But hey,
Anyway,
that's been our nerd flex for the week.
all right. Well, now we turn to a little bit of legalese.
Legalese.
Lum,
Yeah, man.
I got a question for you. What can you tell us about the actors and the video game strike that was going on recently? You remember that going on?
Yeah, I do. There were some voice actors and actresses who felt they weren't getting compensated correctly.
Mm-hmm.
They went on strike, and ultimately their union came through and was able to negotiate a new deal.
Yeah, exactly. Now, the SAG-AFTRA, or the Screen Actors Guild, American Federation of Television and Radio Artists, is the labor union that Lom just barely pointed out. And they're for most creative workers in theater, film, radio, TV, and, of course, video games. And they've got their own contract. They typically renew these contracts every 3 years.
Yep.
And the interactive media agreement, that's the video games contract, had expired and was to be renegotiated. This was back in like 2022, 2023. It was a couple years back. And while they were getting to work on the negotiations, they just kept extending the old interactive media agreement. But this time around, they had a big elephant in the room that they needed to address, and that was AI. Now, last month, we heard that the strike was over, and that was true because they paused the strike. However, it is now officially over because just last week, Mr. Nice Guy, they finally completed the vote from the SAG-AFTRA members in putting this into place, and so it is now officially done. But the huge difference, the thing that took so long to get this, because if you're counting, it was an 11-month strike. And then even before then, it was, like a year, maybe almost 2 years of negotiations, because there was no meeting of the minds on the question of what could be used in AI. Everybody was at very, very far different sides of the spectrum. The actors wanted one thing, the publishers wanted another thing, and that took so long. And because that was such a huge part of the process, I wanted us to go over the hard-fought language from that contract with y'all. But the summary alone is 10 pages long. The summary is 10 pages long.
Sure.
And most all of that's dedicated to the AI legalese. We would need to do a full hour on the new contract and on the summary, for that matter, alone. By the way, if that's something that you want, let us know in the chat or Discord. But I'm going to assume that you'll allow us a way too short version. So I'm going to try my best.
Right.
Here's the way too short version of the AI provisions. 1, you need express consent to make content with AI based on our performances. And in this, I'm going to be saying you is the company that's doing the making.
Sure.
Us is the actors.
Sure.
Mr. Nice Guy's, no making AI comedy specials off of Mr. Nice Guy unless you've expressly consented to that.
Sure.
If that's included in the contract, you can't hide that stuff. It has to be an individually initialed provision, or you need to have it on its own separate thing, and in there you have to state exactly what you're going to do. There are no blanket just-in-cases for the use of AI to do our thing.
No just in cases.
No just-in-cases.
All legal terminology on this pod.
Exactly. Mr. Nice Guy, I love you so much. You get it.
Likewise, brother.
Another thing, they said when we, the actors, are on strike, the AI versions of us are also on strike. You don't get to strike bust with our AI, with AI-created counterparts. And if you do choose to use an AI version of us, instead of bringing us in, you will be paying us what you would have paid if we had come into the studio to do the work.
That's wild to me.
I feel like this is definitely one of the things that took them so long to come to an agreement with it.
Okay, but real quick, we got to go
sure.
on this quick tangent because
Sure, absolutely.
the implication there is that AI could do a sufficient job
Uh-huh.
as compared to the real person. Because saying, if you're going to use AI, you're going to pay me the same thing as if I was there, almost implies that AI is adequate.
Or is the implication that the other side is more than willing to cut you out for the cut rate of using the AI instead?
Yeah, I mean, it would be counterintuitive to say, if you're going to use AI, you got to pay me half because AI is half as good as I am. Like, the logical thing is to say you're going to pay me the full amount. But all I'm saying is there's an implication here that AI can get the job done. That's it.
Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. I think their biggest concern is you don't get to cut us out, even if it ever does get to that point.
Sure.
That it's good enough. It's just like, we're going to make it just as expensive for you to cut me out of the process and use my AI avatar as if you had just brought me in. So hopefully you just bring me in. But anyway, so that all being said, if you were, say, making the movie Rogue One today, you would be paying the estate of Peter Cushing his going rates for the performances that you used AI to generate. So those are the provisions that drug out the strike for nearly a year. You have to let us know. You can't hide it in fine print. You can't use it to break strikes. You will be paying the minimum to us if you're going to be using our performances. And that is what they have secured, and that is why the strike is over, because they have agreed. It's now been voted, signed, and goes into effect very, very soon. Like I said, if you want some more on that, let us know if you want us to do a deep dive, and we'll see what we can do about it. But for now, it's not the law, but it is legalese.
Nice. Well, before we go, and Mac, did we say anything about podcast awards on the front end? If you've made it this far, you've probably already voted, right?
Oh, I sure hope so. As a matter of fact, I tried to make it easy for you. I made a video to walk you through how you vote in the podcast awards. So no excuses.
Well, hey, vote in that. And then before we go, we have one last segment called What We've Been Watching and What We've Been Playing, where we talk about the cool, nerdy stuff we've been into across all platforms. If you're here live, you got a job to do. Let us know in the chat what you've been watching and playing. Mac, what you been into over the past week?
Dude, this week I watched the end of Andor Season 2 and then watched Rogue One. And so the one I was thinking about was Tarkin in his, his CG likeness being used, even though he's passed on. So that was very much front of mind as I was reading through these. But that's what I've been watching. What I've been playing a special game project that we aren't ready to reveal quite yet. Also been playing more Baba Is You, A Way Out with a friend on Sundays, and and just my standby Creeper World 4. I do like my pseudo tower defense games. They're fun time. How about you, Mr. Nice Guy?
Dude, I've been playing. I picked up a new game called Undertale. It's an old game, but it's new to me. After seeing so much praise for this game, and you should never start playing a game when you're tired, because you just don't remember if you're liking it or not. I remember enjoying this, but I remember dozing off. So I'm playing that. And then my good friend Mac gifted me a game called Thomas Was Alone, and I played through the whole thing, and it's freaking phenomenal, man. Who would have thought such a simple concept could be made perfection as a result of the narration? And I feel like that's what happened here.
I've got no problem admitting that game made me feel feelings for those rectangles, and I loved it.
Once again, Mac pretends to be against AI, but is he really? Because all of the rectangles in the game were AI. So AI can make you feel emotion, is what you're saying, Mac.
Mr. Nice Guy.
I'm not letting it go.
Fictional AIs. I am so glad that you are enjoying Thomas Was Alone. It is a heartwarming and fantastic game, and I mean...
It's a great game.
Nothing could make me happier. There's that special feeling that comes when somebody else plays a game that you love, and they love it too, and there are just few things that compare, so I'm glad we're on the same page.
Yeah, it was a great game. Thanks for gifting it to me. And then as far as watching, I don't know that I've really watched anything. Still, I'm almost done with the Detroiters. I watch an episode a day. And then I think that's it. Oh, did I say I went to go see Mission Impossible last week or 2 weeks ago?
No.
The most recent one. And I saw it in the theater, which we don't often do, but my wife and I went for a date night. So that was fun. Forgot how fun the theater is. Let's keep movie theaters alive. Well, thank you for tuning in, everybody, to episode 349 of Two Nerds in a Pod. We appreciate each and every one of you here live and after the fact. And we appreciate your votes in the podcast awards. Hey, keep gaming, be excellent to each other, and keep it nerdy, y'all. Deuces.
Bye.